April 22, 2023 Unit 7-9, Unit 7 Servicing the listing. 1. The reason that an expired listing was not extended with the original listing office most likely is dissatisfaction with A. The commission percentage. B. Communications. C. Price. D. The length of listing. B. Communications. The most likely reason why an expired listing was not extended with the original listing office is dissatisfaction with communication. 4. The Equator platform is a system for A. Locating property. B. Loan approval. C. Short sale approval. D. A title search. Answer C. Short sale approval. Standard system used by lenders. 7. If possible, you should place a writer strip on your listing signs that shows A. Your fax number. B. All your professional designations. C. A desirable feature. D. All of these. Answer C. A desirable feature. Placing a writer strip on your listing to show positive features not readily seen such as 4 bedrooms. Unit 8 Advertising. 1. The AIDA approach does not include A. Attention. B. Demand. C. Interest. D. Action. Not B. Demand. The AIDA approach includes attention, interest, desire, and action. 7. A billboard reads, Joe's Realty A serving Price County. The billboard would be considered A. Personal advertising. B. Specific advertising. C. Operational advertising. D. Institutional advertising. Answer D. Institutional advertising sells the firm, not a specific property. Institutional advertising attempts to create a favorable image of the real estate company, the broker, and the salesperson. It keeps the company's name in the public eye and aims to inspire trust, confidence, and goodwill. Institutional advertising, often done by organized groups having similar interests, manifests pride in and respect for the real estate business. Individual brokers may be required to share some of the costs incurred in this type of advertising. Which statement is false about display ads? A. Readers' eyes tend to move from upper left to lower right. B. One large picture is generally more effective than several smaller ones. C. Short words are easier to read than long words. D. Capital letters are easier to read than lowercase letters. Answer D. Capital letters are easier to read than lowercase letters. Capital letters are not easier to read than lowercase letters. Unit 9 The buyer and the property showing. 6. The front-end loan qualifying ratio is the ratio of A. Gross housing cost to gross income. B. Gross income to net income. C. Net housing cost to net income. D. None of these. Answer A. Gross housing cost to gross income. The front-end qualifying ratio is of gross housing cost to gross income. Lenders use the terms front-end and back-end ratios. Front-end ratio customarily refers to the ratio of a buyer's housing costs to income. Generally, gross income is used for front-end qualifying. For many institutional lenders, the front-end ratio is 28%, which means the buyer's total monthly housing costs, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, PD, cannot exceed 28% of their gross income. Total monthly payment A tilde middle. Gross monthly income equals 28% or less. A person's total housing expense plus long-term debt obligations cannot exceed 36% of gross income. Backhand ratio PD plus total monthly credit obligations A tilde middle. Gross monthly income equals 36% or less. 7. The backhand qualifying ratio refers to the ratio of A. Gross housing cost to gross income. B. Total housing expense plus long-term debt to gross income. C. Gross income to net income plus housing cost. D. None of these. Answer B. Total housing expense plus long-term debt to gross income. The back-end qualifying ratio refers to the ratio of total housing expense plus long-term debt to gross income. Unit 10 Obtaining the offer and creating the sales agreement. Unit 11 From offer to closing. 4. When presenting an offer on your listing for less than list price, it is good policy to A. Immediately tell the seller what the offer is. B. Not recommend acceptance or rejection. C. Recommend that sellers counter or reject offers when acceptance is not in their best interest. D. Have a number of your office staff present to intimidate the sellers. Answer C. Recommend that sellers counter or reject offers when acceptance is not in their best interest. When presenting an offer on your listing for less than list price, it is good policy to recommend that the sellers counter or reject offers when acceptance is not in their best interest. 9. After 2 months, you receive an offer on one of your listings. Although for less than the listing amount, the offer is certainly reasonable based on the CMA. You should recommend to the owners that A. They counter offer at a price halfway between list price and the offer to split the difference. B. The offer be rejected so that the offeror will raise the offer to the list price. C. They let the offer period expire without taking any action to make the offeror anxious. D. They accept the offer. Answer D. They accept the offer. If a reasonable, but lower than listing price, offer is received, you should recommend to the owners that they accept the offer. Unit 12 Real Estate Financing. 2. What type of mortgage has compound interest? A. Reverse mortgage. B. Renegotiable rate mortgage. C. Adjustable rate mortgage. D. Straight mortgage. Answer A. Reverse mortgage. A reverse mortgage has compound interest. 3. The difference between the interest rate of an index and the rate charged by a lender under an adjustable rate mortgage is known as the A. Discount. B. Gap. C. Margin. D. Cap. Answer C. Margin. The difference between the interest rate of an index and the rate charged by the lender under an ARM is known as the margin. 4. A lender who believes interest rates will be rising significantly will be least interested in A. A hybrid mortgage. B. A 30-year fixed-rate mortgage. C. A 15-year fixed-rate mortgage. D. An adjustable rate mortgage. Answer B. A 30-year fixed-rate mortgage. A lender who believes that interest rates will rise significantly will be least interested in a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage, although a borrower might prefer it. 6. An adjustable rate loan index is 6% at the time a loan is made. The margin for the loan is 2.5%, with a 5% lifetime cap. The highest the interest rate could go is A. 6%. B. 8.5%. C. 11%. D. 13.5%. Answer is D. 13.5%. With an adjustable rate loan index at 6 at the time the loan is made, a margin for the loan at 2.5, and a 5 lifetime cap, the highest the interest rate could go is 13.5. 7. A convertible ARM is a loan that can be changed to A. A shorter term loan. B. A fixed rate loan. C. Another property. D. Another borrower. Answer B. A fixed-rate loan. A convertible ARM is a loan that can be changed to a fixed-rate loan. 9. Which loan type is most likely to meet all the criteria of question 8? A. Renegotiable rate mortgage. B. Adjustable rate mortgage. C. Fixed-rate mortgage. D. Reverse mortgage. Answer B. Adjustable rate mortgage. An adjustable rate mortgage is most likely to meet all the criteria of a buyer who intends to sell a house within 2 years. No prepayment penalty, low initial costs, and assumable. Choosing among loan categories. Lenders offer a number of different basic loan classifications, with different lenders offering different variations. Because of differing loan provisions, interest rates, and loan costs, it becomes difficult for borrowers to decide which loan type and lender best meet their particular needs. Borrowers will find that they must shop for loans the same way they shop for any other large purchase. There are significant variations in costs among lenders. In some cases, loan costs can be negotiated. Borrowers who believe they will remain in a property for many years likely will want an overall lower interest rate and be willing to pay higher loan origination costs, including discount points, to obtain that rate. Borrowers who expect to remain in a property for only a few years likely will want a loan that can be prepaid without a penalty and that has low loan origination costs. Such borrowers likely will be willing to pay a higher interest rate to obtain the lower origination costs. Generally, lower loan origination fees mean a higher interest rate. Borrowers who believe interest rates are about as low as they will go are likely to want a long-term fixed-rate mortgage. Borrowers who believe interest rates are likely to drop probably will want a loan without a prepayment penalty, a short-term loan that can be rewritten at a future interest rate, or an adjustable rate loan that can be converted to a fixed-rate loan. Borrowers who have very low down payments would be interested in loans having a high LTV, such as FHA-insured loans, VA guarantee loans, and loans with PMI. And if borrowers have a low income for loan qualifying purposes, they likely will want an ARM with low initial payments, a longer-term loan, or an interest-only loan. For many buyers, the deciding factor will be the additional improvement in lifestyle afforded by using an ARM. Usually an ARM allows borrowers to buy more home for their money than would be possible with a fixed-rate loan. Assume fixed-rate loans are at 6%, and ARMs have a lower interest rate. If the agent knows how much the buyer can afford for a monthly payment, the agent can calculate the loan amount for which the borrower can qualify. The easiest way to do this is simply to use an amortization table and check the qualifying rate to determine how large a loan that payment will support. The real estate agent needs to understand the lending business and be willing to communicate with the lender when he does not know why a certain interest rate, point, loan fee, or PMI is required, or does not understand other conditions of the loan. One of the fundamental misunderstandings about financing arises because real estate buyers and sellers do not realize that money is a commodity. Money is like a loaf of bread, a car, a home, or any other commodity, and it is bought and sold. When it is bought and sold, the lender expects to make a profit on the sale. Some like to compare loaning money to renting. The payment of interest is the cost of renting the money, and points are like first and last month's rent or the security deposit. But unlike security deposits, it is not refundable. Every lender needs to make a profit on the rental of money to stay in business. If the lender reduces one cost to a borrower in one area, the lender generally will raise it in another area to compensate for the loss. As an example, a lender offering a lower interest rate may charge higher loan costs, as well as a larger prepayment penalty, than a lender offering the higher interest rate. Help your borrower choose the loan that offers the combination of features that best meets that borrower's specific needs. 10. An expansionary policy of the Federal Reserve would be to A. Lower taxes. B. Increase the discount rate. C. Buy government securities. D. Raise bank reserve requirements. Answer C. Buy government securities. An expansionary policy of the Fed Reserve would be to buy government securities, putting more money into the economy. The Federal Reserve is responsible for our monetary policy. It seeks to adjust the availability and cost of money so there is steady economic growth with minimum unemployment and inflation in check. The Federal Reserve has three basic controls. 1. Discount rate. By raising and lowering the discount rate charged to member banks to borrow funds, the Federal Reserve affects long-term rates charged by lenders. Lower rates fuel the economy, but higher rates are contractionary economic policy. 2. Reserve requirements. By raising and lowering reserve requirements of banks, the amount of available funds to loan is regulated. Less funds for lending means higher interest based on supply and demand factors. 3. Open market transactions. The Federal Reserve can buy government securities on the open market to put money into the economy or to sell government securities to take money from the economy to slow growth. Unit 13. Escrow and title insurance. 1. A broker can act as an escrow when the broker A. represents the buyer in the transaction. B. represents the seller in the transaction. C. is a principal in the transaction. D. is any of these. Answer D. Is any of these. A broker can act as an escrow when the broker is a principal or represents the buyer or seller in the transaction. 2. An escrow company is prohibited from A. paying referral fees to anyone other than an employee of the escrow company. B. bonding employees. C. both of these. D. neither of these. Answer A. Paying referral fees to anyone other than an employee of the escrow company. An escrow company is prohibited from paying referral fees to other than an employee of the escrow company. 3. To determine the balance due on a loan, escrow requests A. a closing statement. B. a beneficiary statement. C. a reconveyance. D. an impound statement. Answer B. a beneficiary statement. To determine the balance due on a loan, escrow requires a beneficiary statement. 4. Which is a debit to the seller on the seller's closing statement. A. Selling price. B. Prepaid taxes. C. First trust deed to be assumed by buyer. D. All of these. Answer C. First trust deed to be assumed by buyer. First trust deed to be assumed by the buyer is a debt to the seller on the seller's closing statement. Debits, amounts owed, and credits, amounts entitled to receive. 6. An escrow company has a duty to A. warn parties if the escrow knows of possible fraud. B. suggest changes when one party is not being adequately protected. C. do both of these. D. do neither of these. Answer D. Do neither of these. An escrow company does not have a duty to warn parties of possible fraud or suggest changes when one party is not being adequately protected. 7. A standard policy of title insurance is used to show A. that there are no encumbrances against a property. B. that the seller has a marketable title. C. both of these. D. neither of these. Answer B. that the seller has a marketable title. A standard policy of title insurance is used to show that the seller has marketable title. It insures against undisclosed encumbrances. 8. Which of the following is covered by the CLTA standard policy of title insurance? A. Easements not a matter of public record. B. Rights of a party in possession. C. Unknown spousal interests. D. Encroachment. Answer C. Unknown spousal interests. Unknown spousal interests are covered by the CLTA standard policy of title insurance. 9. Which is not covered by an ALTA extended coverage policy of title insurance? A. Mining claims. B. Liens placed by the insured. C. Water rights. D. Off-record easement. Answer is not B. Liens placed by the insured. Liens placed by the insured are not covered by an ALTA extended policy of title insurance. However, mining claims, water rights, and off-record easements are. Unit 14. Taxation. 3. What did Proposition 13 provide for? A. It set a maximum tax rate. B. It set assessments for property acquired before 1978 back to the value on the 1975 tax roll. C. The tax can be increased 2% per year. D. All of these. Answer D. Proposition 13 provided for a maximum tax rate. It set assessments for property acquired before 1978 back to the value on the 1975 tax roll, and allowed for a 2% per year tax increase. 4. The proposition that allows a tax assessment for certain homeowners to be transferred from one county to another is Proposition A. 13. B. 58. C. 60. D. 90. Answer D. 90. Proposition 90 provided for a tax assessment for certain homeowners to be transferred from one country to another. 5. The homeowner's property tax exemption is A. $50,000 for a single person. B. $4,000 from assessed valuation. C. $7,000 from assessed valuation. D. The first $100,000 of assessed valuation. Answer C. $7,000 from assessed valuation. The homeowner's property tax exemption is $7,000 from assessed value. 6. Depreciation for a residential property uses A. The straight line method. B. A 27A 1/2 year table. C. A 39-year table. D. Both A and B. Answer D. Depreciation for a residential property uses the straight line method and a 27 half-year table. 7. To have a tax-deferred delayed exchange, which of the following is required? A. The exchange property must be identified within 45 days after the taxpayer relinquishes his property. B. The sale must be completed within 180 days after the taxpayer relinquishes his property. C. Both of these. To have a tax-deferred delayed exchange, the exchange property must be identified within 45 days and must be completed within 180 days of the taxpayer relinquishing their property. 8. To have a 1031 tax-deferred exchange, you need all of the following except A. Like for like properties. B. To receive boot rather than pay it. C. A trade of investment real property for investment real property. D. To hold property after the exchange in the same manner as you held property going into the exchange. Answer is except B. To receive boot rather than pay it. To have a 1031 tax-deferred exchange, you need to have like for like properties, have a trade of investment real property for investment real property, and must hold property after the exchange in the same manner as you held property going into exchange. 9. Albert wants to exchange property with Baker, which would be boot to Albert in the exchange. B. Cash received by Albert to balance equities. If Albert wants to exchange property with Baker, cash received by Albert to balance equities would be boot to Albert in the exchange. Debt relief would also be boot. 10. A homeowner can receive preferential tax treatment by A. An interest deduction. B. Use of the universal exclusion. C. A property tax deduction. D. All of these. Answer D. A homeowner can receive preferential tax treatment by an interest deduction, use of the universal exclusion, and a property tax deduction. Unit 15 Property Management and Leasing. 2. Which of the following statements regarding a property manager's compensation is true? A. Compensation is generally a percentage of the gross. B. As the income of properties managed increases, the percentage fee charge tends to increase. C. Both of these. D. Neither of these. Answer. A. Compensation is generally a percentage of the gross. Compensation is generally a percentage of the gross. Percentage is lower for higher income properties. 3. Property managers can be protected against receiving no fees when managing a vacant property they are unable to rent by A. Holdover clause. B. Recapture clause. C. Minimum fee. D. Separate leasing fee. Answer C. Minimum fee. A property manager can be protected against receiving no fees when managing a vacant property they are unable to rent by a minimum fee. 5. A lease under which the tenant is to pay $500 per month for 3 years is A. Gross lease. B. Net lease. C. Percentage lease. D. Month-to-month lease. Answer A. Gross lease. A lease under which the tenant is to pay $500 per month for 3 years is a gross, or flat, lease fixed rent. Types of leases. The 3 basic lease forms the property manager will be expected to work with are the gross lease, the net lease, and the percentage lease. Gross lease. Under a gross lease, the tenant pays a fixed rental and the owner pays all other expenses for the property. Most residential leases and small commercial leases on office buildings are gross leases. As an example, the typical month-to-month lease is for a gross amount. To keep a tenant on a gross lease from holding over at the end of the term, the lease might include a holdover clause, which materially raises the rent when the lease period expires. This encourages the tenant to either sign a new lease or vacate the premises. Net lease. Under the terms of a net lease, besides a basic rent, building expenses are passed on to the tenant. There are 3 types of net leases. A single net lease, the tenant pays the taxes and the base rent. A double net lease, the tenant pays for the insurance, as well as taxes and base rent. A triple net lease, in addition to taxes, insurance, and base rent, The tenant is responsible for all property maintenance and repairs. The term net lease is generally used in reference to a triple net lease. Net leases are generally long-term leases and often are found in sale-leasebacks and where buildings are constructed for a particular tenant. The buyer, investor, wants a stated return. To keep the same relative purchasing power, the lessor on a net lease generally wants the net amount tied to an inflationary index, such as the Consumer Price Index. Percentage lease. A percentage lease generally provides for a stated percentage of the gross receipts of a business to be paid as rent. Generally, the percentage lease is tied in with a minimum rent and a covenant to remain in business. The percentage lease also might include hours of operation and a prohibition against the lessees conducting off-site warehouse sales. Percentage leases are typically used in shopping centers, where each business aids other businesses. Shopping center leases may have a requirement that a separate percentage of the gross be used for cooperative advertising in newspaper supplements or on radio or TV. Net lease means the owner gets a net amount and property expenses are paid by the tenant. Payments are similar to an annuity. In addition, a percentage lease may include a recapture clause, which provides that should a tenant not obtain a desired gross, then the lessor has the right to terminate the lease. 6. A lease that contains a minimum rent and a covenant to remain in business is a percentage lease. B. A net lease. C. A gross lease. D. None of these. Answer A. A percentage lease. A lease that contains a minimum rent and a covenant to remain in business is a percentage lease. 7. Which business would likely pay the highest percentage on a percentage lease? A. Parking lot. B. Supermarket. C. Clothing store. D. Restaurant. Answer A. Parking lot. 8. Which business is likely to pay the lowest percentage on a percentage lease? A. Sporting goods store. B. Music shop. C. Supermarket. D. Clothing store. Answer C. Supermarket. 9. A valid 2-year lease need not A. Have parties capable of contracting. B. Contain a legal description of the property. C. Contain the amount of rent and manner of payment. D. Be a written agreement. Answer B. Contain a legal description of the property. A valid 2-year lease need not contain a legal description of the property.